I recently watched that Netflix documentary on the manosphere, and I'm just going to say it straight. I think a lot of it is fucking dangerous. Not because everything in it is wrong. There are real issues. Men are isolated, lost, disconnected, angry. That part is real. But the solution being pushed in a lot of that space was coldness, emotional shutdown, treating relationships like power dynamics, and acting like needing someone makes you weak. And I'm sat there thinking, have you actually lived in a real relationship or are you just talking online? Because what I've seen in my life is the complete opposite of that bullshit. I've been with my wife now since I was about 18 years old, and we've been married for about a decade this year. I'm not going to sit here and pretend it's been some clean, aesthetic, perfect love story because that's not real life, and anyone saying it is either lying or hasn't been tested yet. We've had proper lows, arguments that felt like everything was on fire, stress, pressure, money worries, exhaustion, growing up together while not trying to lose each other in the process. But here's the difference between real life and internet fantasy. We didn't bail when it got hard. We didn't start keeping score. We didn't turn into enemies in the same house. We stayed a fucking team. And that's what people online don't seem to understand. Relationships aren't won, they're maintained. There were times with my mental health where I was gone. Not a bit stressed, not rough week, I mean proper depression. Flat, numb, functioning on the outside, but inside everything was shutting down. And like a lot of men, I did the stupid thing and I hid it. Because apparently that's what being a man is meant to be. Deal with it, don't talk about it, don't be a burden. That mindset nearly fucked me. Because silence doesn't make you strong, it just delays the crash. And when I finally told my wife the truth, and I mean the proper truth, not the watered down version, I was half expecting judgment, distance, and something to change. But nothing changed. She just stepped in. No drama, no panic, no fixing me, just consistency, presence, support when I couldn't even support myself. And I'll say this clearly, if she reacted the way a lot of the online alpha advice suggests women should react, I probably wouldn't be here in the same way I am today. So all that talk about don't be weak in front of your woman, honestly, my opinion, is bullshit advice. And this is where I get properly pissed off with the manosphere narrative. Because I grew up watching my dad. Not some online persona, not some theory, a real man in real life. He gets up at 5 or 6 a.m, goes to work, comes home and doesn't collapse into selfishness or detachment or I've done my part. He walks the dog for an hour, helps my mum, cooks, cleans, looks after her properly and especially on the days when she's struggling. And my mum has had her struggles at times. And he hasn't distanced himself from that. He leans in harder. Because that's what in sickness and in health actually looks like when life isn't Instagram perfect. And I'll be blunt, some of the manosphere content would look at that and call it simp behaviour, or whatever the fucking buzzword they're using that week. That's exactly why I don't take it seriously, because if your ideology breaks the moment your partner gets sick, it's not masculinity, it's fragility with branding. So what happens then? Your wife gets ill and you just say, sorry, man code says I can't be a help to you. That's not strength, that's cowardice, dressed up as principles. My dad didn't teach me that men abandon responsibility when it gets uncomfortable. He taught me the opposite. And I've realised recently how much of that I've absorbed. Because my wife was poorly recently and I didn't sit there debating in my head. I just did what needed doing. Got her favourite flowers, picked up everything at home, cooked, cleaned, took the pressure off her without being asked. Not because I was trying to be some perfect husband, but because that's normal to me. That's what I grew up seeing. A man doesn't just sit back and score points, he steps in when his partner can't carry everything. And I think that's what gets lost in all this online noise. Real masculinity isn't distance, it's responsibility, even when it's inconvenient, especially when it's inconvenient. The manosphere sells this idea that emotional detachment makes you stronger, but what it actually does, if you follow it fully, is turn you into someone who can't properly connect to anything real. And I'll be honest, I don't respect that, because I look at my life, my wife, my dad, my mum, and I see something completely different. I see people showing up, carrying each other, No ego, no performance, no bullshit ideology getting in the way of basic human decency. 10 years married this year, and I can say this without hesitation. My wife didn't make my life easy, but she's been there in every version of it. And I'm not interested in any version of masculinity that would tell me to pull away from that. If this resonates with you, share it with someone who needs to hear something a bit more real than what's being pushed online. And if you're listening to this right now, look at your own life. Are you showing up for your partner properly? Or are you hiding behind ego, pride, or whatever man rules you've picked up from the internet? Because none of that shit matters when life actually gets hard. New episodes drop every Monday at 7 a.m. Make sure you follow the podcast to keep up to date with more episodes like this. Stay safe, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.